Good morning, welcome to Allphin.com. Today I'm at Flaming Gorge Reservoir early in the spring, just the first day of April. Obviously COVID-19 has got everybody isolated, and we happen to live about 7 miles away from here, so it's in our county, so we're legal to go fishing. So I'm out here this morning trying to catch a few rainbows, maybe some lake trout, and it's a beautiful, beautiful morning. I'll just go ahead and make a little panoramic view here and see where I am. I'm at Sheep Creek. It's a beautiful place. It just ice just barely came off, so the last few days is the only times that we can launch here. And if you look out to where the camera's pointed right now, you'll see that there's still ice clear out there. So this is going to be a fun day. I came out yesterday and caught half a dozen really nice rainbows and some lake trout, and I had a nice 7-pound lake trout. I didn't film yesterday, so brought the camera today. Hopefully I'll be able to get a couple of fish on film. Hope you enjoy today's episode. First cast of the day, I'm using a little white tube, probably a 2.5-inch tube, tipped with a little bit of night crawler. I don't know whether you can see the finder there, but we've got quite a few trout moving in the 10 to 15 foot area. I'm not really going for those right now. I'm actually throwing towards the rocks, letting it come down, try to get in to be anywhere between 15 and 25 feet of water. So we're in 38 right now, so I'm going to be moving a little bit towards the shore. Hey, that was the first little cast, and I've got a fish. I don't know what I've got, but I've got a little fish here. Probably a rainbow, maybe a little lake trout. Yeah, it looks like a little laker. Ah, he got off. That's great. That's great, but that's a good sign. First cast. First cast. I never did set the hook on that fish because, quite frankly, I was showing you the fish finder, and wasn't really concerned about my line, but as it dropped down, that fish hit it, so that's a good sign for things to come. I just saw a few fish on the bottom, so I dropped down to the bottom here to see if I can possibly get one to take from the bottom. Just only had a couple of 3 casts this morning so far. Just had the one little lake trout that came up and hit it, and I didn't get it in the boat because I hadn't set the hook. I'm fishing a 2.5-inch white tube, and I've got a little tiny piece of night crawler on it, and it's on a 1/4 ounce ball head. I think I missed a strike right there, so I'm going to pull in and see if I've got my bait still. It's been nibbled on for sure. But I'll just go ahead and make sure that's still on there solid. That's all it is right there, just a little white tube. It's got a little bit of pepper in it. This particular tube's made by Strike King, and they call it a Bitsy Tube. I'm going to drop straight down again underneath the boat just because I still see a couple of fish down there on the finder, so I'm going to drop down and see if I can't entice a bite a little bit there. Beautiful, beautiful morning. It's probably, I don't know, 40 degrees. Out maybe a little tiny bit more, but I'm in the shade. Sun's just barely come up, and so my hands are a little bit cold, but I've got my half gloves on, and that usually does the trick for me, so hoping this will be a fine morning. Started out really, really well. So all I'm sure I have to do is get this tube in front of a fish, and they'll bite it today. It's really funny. I've had 2 or 3 hits here in the last 5 minutes, but I think I'm running through a school of smaller fish because the finder's showing me a bunch of smaller fish, and also the fact that they're just basically touching the bait. They're not really eating it. is an indication that maybe I've gotten into a group of small rainbows or something like that. So we'll just continue. We're just continuing on up this bank and trying to keep the boat now, because of what happened with that first fish that I had on. I'm keeping the boat in 30 feet of water, casting towards the bank, but realizing that it's probably, oh, I don't know, I guess I'm casting into about 10 feet of water and then bringing it out to almost 25 feet before I'll bring it in. In the springtime, it's always tough to know whether the fish are going to want a tube dead sticked or just very, very, very quiet movements, or if they want a little bit more movement. And really, to be frank about it, I think that the difference is a lot of times in the early spring, minnows, crawdads, whatever else they might be eating, sometimes are lethargic and don't move really that fast. And so you don't know. Now, once the crawdads get moving and moving, scurrying along the bottom or going from deeper to shallower water, then all bets are off, and the fish will chase. And I don't care whether it's a smallmouth bass or whether it's a lake trout or a rainbow or a brown. It's all the same. They like to chase down prey. There we go. There's a little rainbow right there, I'm sure. Yeah, there you go. See, that's the kind that have been hitting me most of the time this morning so far. Just a nice little pan-size rainbow. But that came in about, I don't know, 40 feet of water, but it was not, that's where the boat is. I was actually fishing a little bit closer in. But took the tube, took it nicely. Really healthy fish. There we go, there's another one. Probably the same size. But they're starting to warm up to the, it's a little bit bigger, I think. Starting to warm up to the tube a little bit. Yeah, that's a much better fish. Much better fish. Yeah, it's a nice fish. Not a lot of problem. Both those fish were right up against that little cliff edge. The boat's in 39 feet of water, but I'm throwing to the edge of the cliffs and just letting it kind of slowly sink down. And both those fish were just exactly where they should be, right on a drop off, probably in maybe 25 feet of water is my guess. And you know, if you catch smaller rainbows like this, that one's 16 inches. The first one was just 13. But if you catch fish like that, you got to realize that those are school fish. Those are fish that generally are not just found off on their own. They're usually with a school of fish, and if you can get the school excited, there's a good chance you can catch more fish in the same area. So once you have located fish that are actually willing to bite, then it's important that you probe the area very well and try to target more than just the one or two that bit. Now, there it looks like a lake trout, the way it's bending the rod. Hope I've got it hooked. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, it's a nice rainbow. Very nice rainbow. There we go. Yeah, that's going to be spawning here in a little while. That fish. Just a nice rainbow. That's probably, looking at the net, that's probably an 18 incher. Took the tube just like it should have. That's really a nice fish. I'm going to take a couple of pictures with my phone before I release it. There you go. Well, I want to thank you for watching today's episode of Don Allphin on Fishing. I'm just making a few last casts. I wanted to go over real quickly my tackle that I used today. I was using 10-pound test vicious monofilament. It's a very nice line that I found a couple of years ago. A friend of mine, Roger Stegall, back in Alabama, introduced me to the line while I was pre-fishing for the Nationals back at Pickwick Lake, and I really have enjoyed fishing this line, and so that's what I was using as far as line goes, using King Bitsy Tube in white. I didn't even change to a green or have a green one tied on because they were hitting the white just fine today, and I'm using a Quantum Accurist reel, which I can show you right there. Quantum makes a very, very nice reel. This is about $150 retail reel, which I really like for spin cast. And the rod I'm using is a Gary Dobyns Colt Series, which is the least expensive series that Gary makes. And I have several different qualities of rods that I get from Gary Dobyns. He makes some fantastic rods, but I love the Colt Series because, number one, they're very inexpensive. I have a lot of people on my boat that sometimes have some great experience in fishing, but other times they don't, and the Colt is a wonderful rod. I like to fish these so that I know exactly how they fish, so that I can help people that are on my boat in the course of the year, including grandkids and children and friends and clients, and I can tell them exactly how these rods are going to behave because I fish them too. So even though I have the Champion Series, which I really like from Gary Dobyns and a couple of others, I really like these Colts because I think you can buy retail this particular rod I'm using. It's a 7-foot medium action rod for $79. So it's a great option for you. Anyway, I want to thank you again for watching today. It was a little bit slower than it was yesterday. Didn't really catch any big fish, any big lakers, or I caught a 18 to 20 inch rainbow and a 16 incher, and then I lost several fish that I had that I thought I'd set the hook on. But thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great day, and come back soon for more videos. While I'm self-isolating, they'll mostly be from Flaming Gorge. Thanks again for watching.